Late yesterday, following all the gameplay dumps, we actually got some news on Fallout 76 modding. In an interview with GameStop, Pete Hines did talk about when mods should be expected and how they'll work roughly in Fallout 76. If you haven't seen some of the past interviews, more or less modding in Fallout 76 is going to be tied to private servers, and in this interview he reaffirms that, saying that on the public servers you do see and will probably play on for the first little while in Fallout 76 are not going to have mod support. Now, would it be shocked if certain client-side mods actually do make their way in, like maybe something UI-wise or even an ENB? But at the same time, this game is going to be totally different than any of the past ones, so even those may be pretty few and far between. He goes on to say that with those private servers, you'll be able to decide which mods are actually being used on them, and anyone who connects to that server will be using those mods. As far as the actual release date for these private servers and mods, he does say that they're definitely on the way, but at soonest you can expect them around November 2019. As far as new information goes, that's pretty much all we actually got from this. But as far as my opinions and some actual speculation around this, obviously that's not what I wanted to hear. This channel has been very focused on modding for Fallout 4, and it was kind of my claim to fame. It's why a lot of you guys did subscribe. For me, at least personally, I anticipated that mod support for Fallout 76 would be more complex and more difficult, so it wouldn't happen as quickly, but I was thinking more 6 to 8 months, not 12 months plus. I don't think this is good news for Fallout 76. There's a huge portion of the community that really sticks with these games for modding, and I can see a lot of them being alienated. But one observation that I think is important to point out is Fallout 76 is taking on a little bit of a different approach with their DLC structure as well as their actual microtransactions. What we know right now about Fallout 76's DLC is that we're going to be getting both small and large DLCs for free over time as the game is released. A consistent narrative that we've seen from Bethesda is Fallout 76 is going to be ever evolving. One such way that might happen is through these DLCs on a regular basis. Maybe it'll be monthly. I don't think it's crazy to think that maybe every month we'll get a smaller DLC and every 3 or 4 months we might get something a bit larger. I'm sure along with this we'll get a ton of new cosmetics that going over to the microtransaction model that this game is using. You've probably seen this in some of the gameplay, but after completing certain things in the game, you get this meta currency called atoms. This is going to be something that you can use to purchase cosmetics like skins for some of your different armors, but in addition to earning it through natural events in game, you'll also be able to purchase these atoms with real life money. The idea here being that everybody's going to have these same DLCs because you all get them for free, but a lot of the revenue will be generated through cosmetics, probably cosmetic items added in through those DLCs. This is one of those areas that we really don't have a ton of details, but I would go out on a whim and say that Fallout 76 is probably going to have a lot of stuff going on as far as new content being added post-release, at least in the months immediately following its initial release, and that should hopefully be able to hold some of us over for a considerable amount of time, especially when compared to like Fallout 4 and people beat that game in all of a week. Although I think this microtransaction model might also be affecting when they decide to release mods. If you look at Bethesda.net or Nexus, the two most popular categories for mods are armor and weapon mods. One of the ways that Bethesda is going to be generating a lot of revenue for this game outside of the initial price tag is through users buying armor and weapon skins. It's something we've actually been seeing a lot of in Fallout 4's Creation Club. I imagine they're going to use something fairly similar in Fallout 76 in addition to just custom looking armors. The stats of that armor might be very similar to an alternate one you can get for free, it just might look particularly cool. Now if you have a ton of modders making free weapons and armors that you can download, and of course you'll unfortunately have to play on a private server, but having all of that go on is definitely not going to help your sales of cosmetics. Now to be fair, that's based on pure speculation. It could also just be that they really need 1 year of development time to actually get private servers and mods working. Now another point to consider is maybe Pete Hines is just saying this so people don't start pestering him about mods in the next 6 months or so. Perhaps Bethesda isn't actually going to take a year, they're just kind of lowering our expectations so we're not disappointed. They have talked about many times in interviews how they don't know exactly how this is going to work just yet. I don't have a ton of knowledge about game development, but I imagine ballparking how long a project that would take a year is actually going to take could be fairly difficult. Like in scenario A, let's say they run into into less issues and actually get it out in 7 to 9 months. In scenario B, it's a nightmare the whole way along and they actually get it out in 14 months. But one final thing I do want to touch on with this news is actually Starfield. I haven't talked about Starfield in a while on this channel, and I'm sure some of you guys actually forgot about it. It's the next single-player RPG coming from Bethesda Game Studios, seemingly their next game after The Elder Scrolls Blades and, of course, Fallout 76. There's been a lot of speculation that Starfield's release date isn't that far away. In the 3 years following Fallout 4's release, Bethesda's staff has quadrupled. During that game's development, they talked about having roughly 100 people working on it, while in some of the interviews from this year, they've actually talked about having either high 300s to low 400s as far as actual staff goes. In addition, when they made Fallout 4, they had Bethesda Game Studios Maryland. Now they also have offices in Montreal, Austin, and Dallas. So a lot of people are suspecting that Starfield is only a year or two out. I don't think this news necessarily indicates one way or another, but for those people that are subscribing to the notion that we're going to get a trailer at 2019's E3 and a release in November of 2019, this could be an interesting way to actually renew interest in Fallout 76 around that period. Or alternatively, let's just say year one of Fallout 76 is all the core content, the base game itself, and Bethesda really focuses on that DLC structure. And then with the start of year two, you get a ton of options on the modding side, and it will kind of continue that game on for years to come. And then at the end of year two, you actually do get the announcement of Starfield. Starfield isn't entirely tied to Fallout 76. Basically, what we've heard right now is Bethesda Game Studios Austin, who actually got multiplayer working in this engine, is really going to be the studio that's focusing on keeping Fallout 76 up to date and bringing more and more content over the next few years. So it's not like they would have been working on Starfield anyway. That's all we know for right now. Obviously, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions in the comments down below. I have a feeling a lot of you guys are going to be pretty disappointed about this. Depending on the rate and size of those free DLCs, maybe they're going to have just a ton of content flowing and we won't miss mods nearly as much as we would have with like Fallout 4. As always, again, I thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.